what's the impact and how to maintain your legal status while you are holding a working visa and during the big layoff wave. So if you are legally working in the United States, you must have either a working visa or a working permit. So for working visa, there are multiple visas that will allow foreigners to work. E-visa, H-1B, LOTNP. So those are typical working visa will allow you to work. For working permit, EAD card is a very common working permit for foreigners to legally work in the United States. So those working visa, they have a valid period in your approval notice. So when you check your approval notice, they have a valid period for working visa, no matter what kind of working visa is. If you have a 3-year valid period of your working visa, that does not guarantee you are in legal status for the whole period. Why? Because your working status is related to your job. Once your job is terminated, you lose your legal status. So even you have a 3-year H-1B in your approval notice, if you got laid off during the 3-year period, you will lose your status in those 3-year period. So here, we're going to talk about grace period. Because if without grace period, the day you lose your job is the day you lose your legal status. So the 60-day grace period was enacted in 2017. So before 2017, for H-O and L working visa, there is no grace period at all. Like I said, the day you lose your legal status is the day you lose your legal status. But right now, because we have a 60-day period, grace period, which means this 60-day grace period is very precious to help you to prevent a foreign worker lose their legal status because of the termination of their employment. So the 60-day grace period enhance the job portability and also help you to maintain your legal status. Then the next question is, what kind of working visa will have the 60-day grace period to help them to maintain status? E1, E2, E3, H1B, H1B1, L1, O1, and TN visa. So those types of visa, if you lose a job in the middle of the valid period, you will have 60 days grace period to help you to plan the next step, file application to maintain your legal status. The next question is, when does the 60-day grace period start? This is very important and a critical issue because when does the 60-day legal grace period starts depends on how much time you have to plan your next step. Then this is the question related to the definition of the H-1B termination date. So when does your H-1B or L or O terminates? It's either the last day of work or the last day of pay. So there is many rumors online talking about this issue. So we're going to clarify that. When your job is terminated, you will get a notice from your employer. And your employer will also notify USCIS the termination of your job. So if your employer sends a notice to the USCIS on the termination of your job, that notice will have the last day of work. And that last day of work controls, which means your 60-day grace period will start the next day of your last day of work on the notice your employer sends to the USCIS.